And welcome back to another edition of Woodsy's Footy Tour. Got we had a guest in store to get today, but I had to ring my good mate Wado, and because I knew he'd step up. It's his old teammate that he used to always have to cover for. So we're going to get Toby Rudolph. But Wado, thank you for stepping in, mate.
Yeah, well, it doesn't surprise me. Toby missing an assignment or not showing up where he needs to be. So again, I'm happy to cover his ass and step in for him. But you know, this is actually a bit strange. I'd never thought I'd see the day where you, mate, Aaron Woods is interviewing me about my footy career. So,
mate, how much did we used to talk at training about footy?
100%. You're kicking goals, mate. I love it. I watched it last time with Buzz.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that was outstanding. You're doing a good job, mate.
Couldn't get a word in with Big Buzzy. He was outstanding.
Mate, he was good. I thought he was good over in Vegas. I met him. I hadn't really considering I had 16 years in the game and he's a Cronulla man, I really haven't had too much to do with Buzz. But out of a few chats with him over in Vegas, he was good value.
He was actually, I remember having a beer at the nightclub. Mate, people were going up to him getting photographs.
Yeah, he's very popular.
I couldn't believe it.
He's very popular.
They either love the Buzz or hate him, don't they?
Yeah.
Did you know he's got a Sharks tattoo?
I didn't know that, actually.
I had no idea. He lifted up his pants, the worst calf muscles you've ever seen, but then out there was like this Sharks tattue.
Premiership one, mate.
Premiership tattoo. I didn't even know if it was actual Sharks sport. I just thought he did it to get all the goss on you boys. Well, you know, before we go into how I knew you, but you want to talk about how you saved Toby Rudolph's career at Cronulla Sharks?
Oh, he wanted to go.
Yeah, because everyone thinks that he didn't want to go, but obviously the big Wado steps in.
Well, I think because he signed like the week of COVID almost, or the week before or the week after, and he felt pressured into the situation. And I knew, I obviously knew his situation at home with his mum, how she was sick, he didn't want to move. And, when I spoke to him about it, he was like, oh, now that this has happened, and he sort of was rushed into the decision because of the uncertainty around COVID. And I said, mate, I'm pretty sure no one's going to hold it against you. Like, you tried to do the right thing because of, security for your family and your mum. But if it's better for you to stay here in Sydney and take care of her here and be here for her, well, it's worth you looking into. So, as it went, he did catch a bit of flack from it.
Yep.
Particularly, over there, and they were disappointed, and rightly so. But during that time, I don't think you can hold it against anyone for
it's a crazy time.
Making a decision that wasn't quite right with the knowledge that had been given.
Yeah.
And I'll always back my teammates and back my players. As a person first, with football second. So it was the right thing for him to stay. Like, even in Sydney, even if it wasn't at the Sharks, it was the right thing for him to stay in Sydney with his family. And I would have always helped him out, even if it was at another club in Sydney.
No, I think it's the right decision for him as well. He was, starting to establish himself at Cronulla, and in the dressing sheds, he's a highly popular. Yeah. He's a highly popular.
Well, I almost
man.
got him sacked before.
Well, that was going to be my next question. Waito, talk to him about the ACL rehab that you and Toby Rudolph had when he first come to the club.
It was quite the turnaround, wasn't it? Because everyone who knows Toby, like, he's a really cool dude, right?
Can I say he's a unique?
Yeah,
unique.
He's unique. And like, once you sort of get past that uniqueness, and he's really just being authentic, and that's who he is. And he knows he's rough around the edges, and he knows he can ruffle a few feathers. But he owns who he is, and he doesn't bend his personality or pretend to be something that he's not. And so to start with, he's an acquired taste, right? And when I first met Toby, it was after we both had ACL surgery.
Yeah.
And we're stuck in the chamber together, one-on-one, and in the gym together. And pretty much you run, he was a little bit behind me, but at those early stages, they're pretty similar.
There's not much you can do.
Yeah, there's not much you can do except spend time in the gym and do your exercises. But it was just me and him, one out.
And the trainer, wasn't it?
And the trainer, the two physios, I'd see him.
Yep.
And I think it was Lawson had left, so it was someone else. Oh, Dave Garrick had just started.
Dave
Garrick
what
just
a
started.
crew.
So, but anyway, so we get in there, and Toby's talking about he's just come off winning the Clive Churchill, which is the man of the match in the reserve grade grand final, and then he's talking about how good he is, and he's got his music going in the gym. He's just constantly at you, and like, I'm a bit of a lad's lad too, but when I want to train, I just want to train, right? And don't talk to me, let me do my thing, let me get in there, and he's at me. So I was with him for about a week and a half. And then I'd had enough. So I went and seen Flano.
Yeah, because we still had Flano that period, didn't we?
Flano was coaching, and I obviously had a great relationship with Flano. I was Was Gow still playing then?
Yeah, no, Gal, yeah,
Yeah,
because
so-
Gal was there with Bomber.
So I would
Yeah.
have been maybe co-captain, and I went in the Flano, and I said, mate, either fuck him off from the club,
Yeah.
or change my training schedule. Like, I'm happy to.
Because you went in after, didn't you? Like, he'd come in the morning, then you'd
So
come
what
in.
happened was I said, mate, I'm happy to change my schedule around, and I'll come and watch you boys train while he trains, and then I'll train on my own in thereafter. And then, so sure enough, the next week I started to come and just be on the field with you
Yeah.
boys when you were training, and then when you finished, I'd go do my rehab, and he'd be on his lunch break, and then he'd come back and do weights, and I'd be floating around doing video or whatever. And then when he finished weights, I'd go in there and do my weights. And I didn't even care that my days are longer or anything. I just wanted to be staggered from him.
You just want to
And
get away from
He
him.
never knew. He actually never knew that.
Oh, really?
For a while. And then he said, why are we not, like, he come and see me about, maybe 2 months after, because we were pretty similar to like our timeline coming back. He goes, like, why are you training at different times? To me, blah, blah. And I said, Mo, I actually went in there and changed it because you were annoying the fuck out of me. So
How do you take that?
he took it on the chin, actually.
You know what, but it would just be like a...
He took it on the chin. He said it did rattle him a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think he knows. That's why he's so confident in the person. He knows it takes a while to get used to and warm up to, and to get me wrong, that's just the start of our relationship. Obviously, you fast forward to the story less than a year later, 2 years later, when
You saved him.
I'm saving him at the club. I'm trying to keep him in Sydney. I'm
Yep.
trying to help him out because I do love the big guy. He has grown on me, and it's funny the turnaround. But we got off to a rocky start, that's for sure.
I reckon his biggest turnaround was when he actually got to play.
Yeah,
Because we didn't think he was a dud, and he was...
Well, when he's a player that you love to play with because he's 100 miles an hour. He empties the tank.
Everything you can ask for.
Yeah, and he just that's who you want on the field. Someone who you just know is going to go 100% and try their best. And you're going to make mistakes and whatever, and you can't play your best game every game. But if you know your teammate's going to have a crack, well, that's the way to win over any league boy's heart, isn't it?
Oh yeah, I think just getting reminded that he's the Clive Churchill of Queensland Cup. No one cared, especially Josh
Jay
Morris.
Moss. Well, mate, I missed that because remember, I went to Canada with my wife.
Oh, you did?
Well,
you went a week early.
Yeah, I went a week early because it's a 24-hour flight, right? And you got to go for a couple of weeks to make it worth it. So
You come back early at pre-season.
I come back earlier, and then I had an extra week at Christmas.
Yeah.
But then when all that kicked off with Jay Moss, I was away. So we'll save that for another chat.
Oh, man, I mean, J Moss comes, hey, Woodsy, mate, go get this guy. He's doing my head. And I was like, oh, relax, J Moss.
Yeah.
Anyway, off Toby off. So, Wader, you're a local Blacktown boy, obviously Penrith Junior. Did you always want to be a Penrith Panthers player?
Oh, 100%. That was my dream from a very young age. I made my decision, I know it sounds crazy when you look back at it, but quite early that this is what I wanted to do. I wanted to play footy. I was exposed to sort of the right guys at the right time that I seen a genuine, pathway to the top, and I believed it could be done. So my dad coached Luke Lewis.
Oh, yeah.
At Blacktown when he was 17.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
I was 11. And then the next year, Louis debuts an 18-year-old on the wing, someone who I actually knew had a relationship with.
Yep.
The following year, I'm 12, 13, sitting on the hill, watching the Penrith in that 2003 season just kill it, and they go on to win the competition.
That's unbelievable.
And it wasn't, they obviously, I played league my whole life, and they inspired me, that team. But, I saw someone on the field that I actually knew.
Yep.
And when, you can have a perception about athletes, you think they're more than they are. Like
they're huge.
They're superhuman and they're something. And, I was fortunate enough that I was exposed to him, earlier, and I had that personal relationship. I knew he was a normal bloke.
Yep.
And then, not that I made the decision right then, but as I got into Harold Matts at an early age, I sort of looked at the pathway. I could see the guys in front of me progressing, the Michael Jennings, the Tim Grants, those sort of players. That there was a pathway, and I saw it, and then I committed as a kid pretty early to that dream. And you don't realise it out in Penrith when you're playing. There's certainly an expectation. You're in a big juniors. You're always in a strong team. But you sort of take it for granted how good the pathway is there, and how many local juniors do go on to make it, not just in the Penrith team, but across the competition. So it's a real thing, right?
Well, I remember when I was at Balmain, and mate, I used to hate playing Penrith and Para because this is before the 20s come and all the players got recruited. Penrith and Para, mate. I remember I played against you. I was younger. we scored the first try. Like, mate, we're a chance here. We got beat by 60.
Yeah.
And then at the end of each year, it was Wade Graham holding up the Haramatsuka, holding up the SG ball. Like, it's just.
Well, I think in my like not joking, in my whole career as a junior at Penrith, I think I lost 3 games. One was the grand final at against Parramatta.
Yeah.
So that was when I was an SG ball as a year young, and then I went on to play flag. We versed Parramatta in the grand final that same year because that was a full season, remember? And we beat Parra in the grand final.
That was like their Tim Menna side and all that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was Tim Menna and Tony Williams. A-Train, the big winger on there was some good players, and Hocko was there.
No, mate, your side was good too.
Yeah, we had a good time. We had a good team.
You had Joseph Paulo.
We had Sefa. We had Masadi Sefa.
Yep.
Jolie Romolo had come then.
Wow.
I was in the halves. Jared Zammett.
Oh,
like
gee,
Jenko was in and out. He's already playing first grade at that stage. So I lost, I think, twice to Parramatta. One in-season game and a grand final, and maybe another one somewhere along the lines in my whole sort of. And I played a few years. I played 2 years of mats, 2 years of ball, and a year of half a year of flag.
Yep.
Half a year of 20s.
Because that was before the 20s started, wasn't it? The flag.
So I was in the last that grand final. That flag grand final was the last year of flag.
Yeah.
And then the following year was when the Toyota Cup was first introduced. So that year, the first year Toyota Cup was introduced, I actually started again in SG Ball.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I played a couple of games.
Oh, wow.
And then I went up to Toyota Cup.
And that was when SG Ball was 18s, wasn't it?
18s, yeah. So then I went up to Toyota Cup, which was 20s. I played, 8 or 9 games there, and I finished the season in first grade.
Well, speaking of that, and you're still in high school. So you were 17, weren't you?
Yeah.
Mate, what I want to know is, so you're in high school, you've started off SG Ball, you've gone to, what, did you go straight to reserve grade or flag?
No, Toyota Cup.
Oh, Toyota Cup, sorry, Toyota
Cup, yeah. So I didn't play any Reggies.
So you've never played Reggies?
I played one game of Reggies when I came back from my shoulder injury.
Mate, that's an incredible stat too.
I skipped through because Toyota Cup then was sort of...
That was a bit more emphasis on it, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I was always a back, right? So I was always in the halves.
Yeah.
You never, as a forward, it's always harder.
It's a bit harder, yeah.
So when I sort of was finding my feet,
yep.
I was finding my feet in NRL as a half.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I sort of got to the position where I was physically more ready to go into the forwards, I'd already played...
You were at Sharks for a while.
I'd already played close to maybe 100 first grade games, right? So the transition was a bit slower, and I probably struggled a little bit more in those early years in the NRL than you see the guys like my own age when you came through, because you're sort of probably more ready. I was learning on my run as a kid.
But you're also playing halves at 17, mate. It's a lot different. I come through at 19, and I was only playing 30 minutes a game.
Yeah, it was a whirlwind back then.
Oh, but then you speak about it, right? So you said you had a lot of mates still playing first grade. When did you think, obviously you've gone SG Ball 20s, when did you think, oh man, I'm actually a chance of playing first grade this year? Or did you think that?
Well, I was training with the top squad like probably off and on, as a 16-year-old really. Yep. So I got to the point, so I went to a sports school.
Hill Sports.
Yep. I went, so I stopped playing weekend club footy altogether.
Oh, really? So you didn't...
So from 14 on, I think...
So did the Penrith tell you to do that, or you just did that?
No, I just made the decision because I was at a sports school, so I was training twice a week at the sports school. I was training most afternoons with the junior reps, and then to play club footy, when the junior rep season would finish as well, it would be when all like New South Wales CHS was playing, all there's
so much
New South Wales 17, so I was playing 2 games, 3 games a week sometimes.
Yeah.
So Dad just said, don't worry about club footy, like play your school footy. You're already in the junior system at Penrith. And it was actually one of the best things for me because once Penrith knew I wasn't doing that, they'd get me in the train with the, with the flag, or they'd get me in the train against the first grade because back then it was top 25, right?
Yeah, it was, yeah.
So if there was injuries or some of the big boys couldn't train, they just needed bodies.
That's in numbers, yeah.
So I remember missing so many days of school, like in year 10 and 11, just because they'd ask if I could train. I was like, yeah. And then that last year, when I was in year 12, I was basically in the top score. I wasn't top 25, but I was basically training with them full time. I'd go to school.
So basically like a development contract now.
Basically 100%. And I'd go to school just on a Wednesday. My school was so good with it.
How good
I'd train full time. Wednesday was always day off for Penrith.
Yeah.
I'd go to school. I'd see my teachers for my subjects. I'd just pretty much get tutored. Like instead of going around to class, I would just see my teachers when they had an off period, and they'd give me the curriculum, and I'd just do the practice questions.
How'd you go with that, like? Because
mate, I was. Because
you're not a nuffy. You're pretty cluey if anyone knows you.
I enjoyed school, but I didn't really try hard at it. I suppose I was lucky that I did well at school, well enough that I was happy with where I was at. But I love footy, mate. Like I was on the train on the bus and train to school to train in the morning.
Yep.
Then I'd go to school all day. Then I'd catch a train to Penrith from Blacktown. I'd train there in the Arvos. If mum and dad couldn't pick me up, I'd catch the train all the way back, and then I'd do it again the next day. But I was happy to do it. I was living my dream. I was chasing it.
Mm-hmm.
And like I said, I made my mind up early, like that this is what I wanted to do.
Beautiful.
And I knew what was in front of me. I knew what I was going to take, and I was all in from probably 15, 16. I was chips all in on footy.
Well, what you didn't make up in the classroom, you made up with the RPA negotiation. Yeah. We'll get up to that a little bit later on. So when Matty Elliott comes to you, how'd you find out? Who were you with, and who'd you tell first?
So there was actually a story came out a few weeks earlier that I was potentially on the debut because I was training with the first grade squad, and at the time Penrith had just lost Gowie.
Yep.
Gowie
to injury?
No, Gowie had gone overseas to France.
Yep.
Then they had Jared Zemmett was playing the halves a bit, Joey Williams was playing the halves a bit, Maurice Blair in the halves, and then eventually they got to the stage where they were using Luke Lewis. And it was sort of like a perfect storm because our 20s team was red hot. Like we were winning games by 40, 50 every week. Like our team was pretty good. It was stacked. So then it just got to the time in the season where Matty went, well, you've been training with us. We think you're ready. You're playing well, and you're in. And I'll never forget. He called me into the office. I walked out. First face I saw was Locke and Coot, and me and Lockie played everything together.
Was he already playing first grade or no?
He wasn't. He wasn't. But he was basically on the same.
Oh, same thing as you.
Same thing as me. So we're like development players together. But we played everything together from like every Penrith team, almost every CHS team, all the way through. And as soon as you see my face, he goes, "You're playing, aren't you?" I said, "Man, I'm playing." He just told me. He was pumped. Rang mum and dad. Drove home. My nan was still alive then. She was living with us. And I remember I told her, and she went, "No, you're not playing. You're too young." On the ring the coach.
Oh, no way.
Just, that maternal instinct kicking in. And then luckily we played that game, and Lockie Coot got his debut the next week.
Oh, how good
so
is that?
So we were one after each other. We went for our whole
And
career.
You stayed on? You played with him that weekend?
Yeah, I played with him. He got man of the match. So our first three games, my first three games, we lost by a point against the Dragons. We had a 90-minute draw against the Broncos. Darren Lockyer playing at Penrith Park. And then I think we won the next game by 2 points or something. So there were three real tight games. I was ready to throw it in after that. I was like, this game's too hard, mate. I can't do this every week. But
so just after that, Lockyer, you've watched him on TV.
Well, he's the only player that I ever played against that I actually went, shit, that's Darren Lockyer over there. Like he's the only one who I was sort of
just intimidated by his presence.
Just his presence, and just like, wow, I'm out here with Darren Lockyer. Like, I can't believe that I'm playing against him. And he was 5'8", I was 5'8".
So was that 2008?
2008, yeah.
Geez, they had a good side then too.
Yeah, they were pretty good. So when we took him to 90 minutes, it was a draw. Lockie Coot had a kick actually to win the game in his debut. He ended up getting man the match in his first game, but Lockie was the only one where I went, well, I can't believe I'm out here with that guy over there. So it was a pretty surreal time. But back, I look now, if I was like talking to my own 17-year-old self coming into my squad towards the back end of the year, I don't know how I would have treated myself because I was just young and fearless, and you don't sort of realise where you're at.
And especially your position, where people don't know, halves call shots, man.
Yeah,
like you got to tell Louis, get to this spot now.
Like, it was different back then too, where I wouldn't actually speak at training until the footy.
But
you're a bit scared.
You're nervous.
Yeah, you're nervous, and it wouldn't. I would keep to myself pretty much because of and it was age different too. I was still a boy in a man's world. Like,
so you're 17 with playing with blokes that are 29, 30.
Yeah, so I didn't really have much to offer the conversations, and like people had kids and everything. But then, like, you know what I'm like. I've always been like, once we play the game, once the whistle goes, like it's on, and then that sort of that took care of itself.
Yep.
But externally coming through, it was a weird time, man. It's good fun.
Is there any memories from that debut? And
I just remember running out. Like, I knew I had like 20 or 30 odd friends from school.
Where'd you debut
family.
at?
ANZ.
ANZ,
So it was a big stadium. It was an empty stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But I remember Toyota Cup played before us. These are my guys. These are the guys. These are the guys who I came through with.
Yep.
I knew my mum and dad and my family there. I had like 30 odd people from school there, and I just remember running out smiling. I remember being so nervous in the game.
Yeah.
Before the game, just looking around, like looking at Petro, looking at Tony Pulatua, Reece Wesser. Like
Petro there. Wow.
I'm going, wow, like I don't belong here. Like, what are you doing? Like, you don't belong here. But then, once you get out there.
Was there anything? Did you notice the speed of the game a lot different, or the collisions? Because 20s was quick.
Speed. Probably speed, just how hard everyone was. That's the biggest difference.
Yeah.
Like, I used to be a bigger 5'8", even back then in my age group, or even playing older years. I was a bigger 5'8", and I always loved the contact. Like you see throughout my career, I always loved the contact part of it. I wasn't afraid to mix it up that way, but just the hardness of the man, like tackling Bo Scott the first time. So we played the Dragons. It was when Brownie first came back, and he was toying with the he'd have the centres on the same side. So it was Gaz and Cooper, the Origin centres. One of my first defensive looks as an edge, going, wow, here we go. But yeah, it was great, man. It was a dream come true. It's what it's hard to describe the feeling unless you've had it. But we've all been fortunate enough to have it, and it's a special time.
And obviously, you go to how many games you play? 8
games.
8 games. And you go to Mad Monday. You're a man that likes a beer.
Yeah.
Were you allowed to get in anywhere? Were you 18 yet?
Nah. Yeah, they looked after us back then. Like, it wasn't probably as strict as it is now.
No social media.
No social media. But it was good. We'd had a beer, and it was surreal again, just being around those guys.
Yep.
It was much easier back then. Like, social media hadn't started yet. Even the phones, I think we all had old Nokias.
Yeah.
So it was play on. I got to have a beer and enjoy everyone's company, but it was more a feeling of I can't wait for what's next. Like, because you're always like that as an athlete, and it's always
what more?
Right, now that I've achieved that, okay, what's next? So you finish your season, you go home, and you go, well, next year I want to start every game. I want to do this and I want to do that, and that's what's next.
Yeah. So 2010, you make the decision obviously to go to the Sharks. How hard was that to leave your junior club? Because obviously you had Travis Burns ahead of you.
And Walsh. So what happened was the year before, I played like 22 games out of the 24. I was pretty beat up by the end of it, like as an 18-year-old. And I started the next preseason like really well. I was probably the first time I was starting to get proper strong.
Getting that,
and we're sort of getting better. That would be my third full preseason. And I played in the trial, but played a great trial. But at the end, I tackled Footy and he broke my AC. Oh. You know how they normally pop.
Yeah.
The collarbone went down on this one.
Oh, Jesus.
So I had to get surgery. Oh. And it was like out for 12 weeks. So then when I came back, the Penrith were flying. They were up top of the table. Yep. Luke Walsh was playing the halves. Travis Burns was killing it. Our team was killing it. That's when I played the one reserve grade game. And I was 80th man a couple of times with the team, but it just
couldn't crack in.
Just couldn't crack in. And during that time, also, I came off contract. Lachlan Coote came off contract. Michael Jennings came off contract. Frankie Pritchard came off contract. We just had a heap of guys come off. And a lot of us were basically junior contracts, but now negotiating as 50 games, 60 games. And
first graders.
Yeah, first graders. And there was a squeeze on the salary cap, and the club had to make a decision. And the decision was that I was going to be the one that was made available to go because that would ease the pressure. And, I was heartbroken. Like, not going to
say, how did you feel?
I was heartbroken. I didn't envision leaving at all. I just expected to be at Penrith my whole career. And it was probably the first time something had gone against me, like at that level. Like normally at that stage, from probably 14 to say 19, like, I'd done everything that I'd set my mind to. I'd done every goal that I'd said I'd achieved. And it was the first time someone went, oh, hang on a minute, this isn't what we planned for. Yeah. But it was a hard lesson, but it was a lesson that held me in good stead moving throughout my career. And, I spend the next 13 years at Cronulla and make it my home. So there's no, I don't look back with any regrets. Yeah, it was a part of my story. It wasn't the right time for me at Penrith, and I moved on. But then, make a home at Cronulla and, become a part of the furniture down there and win a premiership. So it's just the way things.
Not a bad move.
It was the way things were meant to go for me.
And so were Cronulla the only ones on your radar, or?
Well, I actually was going to sign at the Cowboys.
Oh, wow.
The Cowboys were my main. So Cronulla and Cowboys are pretty evenly matched in the money. And then the main draw card was JT was playing up there, and I was still in the halves.
Mm-hmm.
Said wouldn't be a bad career move to go up there,
Yeah.
play outside JT and learn my craft off him. But I hadn't turned 19 yet, or I hadn't turned 20 yet. I was 19. Yeah. I just thought I was still living at home with mum and dad.
Oh, wow.
So I was like, change of club, change of moving away from home, juggling all that at the same time. And then plus Paul Gallen gives me a call. He wants me to come down to the club, meet Flano. Kind of resonate with those guys straight away, what they're about, their sort of vision, what they painted. And like they really wanted me. I could tell they really wanted me there. And that's at that time as a young man where my junior club had said, we don't want you.
You got the love.
Having that love, having that want, having Flano back me, say, mate, you're going to be my man down here.
And was Gow, he was the captain of New South Wales that period?
Gow was captain of New South Wales, vice captain of Australia. So having that want, having that love, feeling that was a big influence, which made me go down there. And it took a while. The first season was tough. I wasn't at my best. Yeah. But then after that, sort of kept going up, and eventually, I'd like to think that I paid him back.
Did you? You said you were still living at home. Did you live at home for any period?
For the first year, I travelled.
So how was that travelling?
It was tough. It was particularly in the pre-season. It was hard because you know what, it's like Groundhog Day, right? So I was in the car, say 5:30 to get it at Sharkies at 6:37, and then you're basically on the field at 8. Then you run like back in the days.
They were hard sessions.
Run, you have a lunch break, you lift your weights, try and race to the car to beat the traffic on the way back home west. And the pre-season just blurs together. And like, there'd be sometimes I'd be in the car, and not in a bad way. Like, I was never sleeping driving, but you're just
in a daze.
You're just in a daze in your own head, and all of a sudden I wake up, I'm on the M5, right? I'm almost at training, but it was just what it was, and it gave me time to look around there and find a house. And I actually didn't even move to Cronulla at first. I lived at Maroubra.
Oh yeah, wow.
For 12 months because I still hadn't found a place to buy. I wanted to buy a place. And then I lived in a unit, Maroubra, and just sealed the deal. I was never living in a unit again. So
they're shocking, aren't they?
I looked around, had some help down there, and I found the right place. Still in it. Still in the same place that I first bought in 2013.
Oh, really? So where you are now is where you first...
Yeah, that's where I first bought.
Far out.
It looks a bit different now, obviously. Renovated it, put another level on it.
Yes.
When the kids came along, pool. The man cave is a special feature.
Oh, it is. Been there a couple times.
But yeah, really happy with where I bought, and again, got lucky with it's a cul-de-sac. I've got 2 young boys now. It's the best street to raise kids in, and
unreal.
I'm glad I took the time.
You didn't rush.
Yeah, didn't rush.
And the other thing, when you first got to Cronulla, was there any moments where you go, "What am I doing?" Like,
well, not really. Like I wouldn't say I was at the happiest. Probably at the start. I was still a bit homesick, and not homesick from living at home. Obviously, homesick from Penrith because
the only reason I say that is because you said your old man coach Luke Lewis. Now you played with all these blokes in the 20s that went to first grade. Now you've just gone to a different club. But the one thing you know about this new club is that Coach Flano wants you and the captain wants you.
Yeah, it was a rocky start. I wasn't playing the best, and it wasn't because all I'd known was Penrith, the Penrith way, the Penrith style, how we thought out there, and then it was just a different philosophy, and it took me a while. Again, travelling, I wasn't at my best. I was there was a lot of self-doubt, right? And then, but Flano backed me. Yeah. He backed me. That was the most important thing probably that happened in my career. He backed me, and he said, no matter what, you're my guy. I'm going to give you opportunity to learn, to grow, develop. I don't expect a world from you straight away. Yep. But, I backed you, and that's all the confidence I needed, right? Yeah. So it was a rocky start. Definitely homesick because that's all I'd ever known. Yep. But slowly I started to understand and build new relationships and understand the area, the culture, the community. Yep. And after that first year, pretty much, every year we improved as a club. Every year we improved 100%. As a team, and every year my relationships down there and in the game improved. So, ultimately leading to the grand final, which is what that's all we ever wanted. That's all we ever wanted.
And one thing, they were known as a hard edge side, like the culture at the Sharks, but you talk to a lot of people and go, geez, they don't really train hard, but they just get out there 80 minutes each week. I've been down there, mate. Sharks did train hard.
Yeah.
Do you reckon that was a bit of a myth?
Well, I used to say it a lot to people.
Like in camps, didn't you?
In camps and I don't know, like we'd be around and
Yeah.
people go, "Oh, we're training hard, man." Like everyone's training hard in this. Like in this world, you got to train hard.
You have to.
Otherwise, you can't compete. But like me, I'm pretty relaxed. Like when it's not the 80 minutes, I'm pretty relaxed. Like I get it. You got to train hard and that, but I like to play a few games. So when everyone asks, how's it down there? I go, like, we're pretty cruisy.
Just
like, piece of piss. We just do a little bit of this and do a little bit of that, and then we get out there and play.
Because that was like the running joke. Everyone's like, mate, how do the Sharks do it? Like, no, they don't train, but they can come out and just bash you for 80 minutes.
Yeah, nah. We train. We always train hard, mate.
And then, you'd have to, blokes like Gow. Yeah. They love it. So you went down there as a half. When did you move into the back row?
Yeah, so the next year they signed Toddy. Flano signed Toddy, and he was he's a way better half than I ever was. But he sort of gave me and Toddy first crack. We'd also signed Jeff Robson.
Okay,
so who was experienced, real steady player. He started the year in reserve grade. Me and Toddy got 2 games together.
What was this, 2012?
2012. Yeah, 2012.
Yep.
So we got 2 games together. We lost to you guys in round 1, actually.
Yeah.
And one of the hottest days in history.
That was a stinker.
Yeah. And then we lost again the next week, and Flano pulled me in and said, listen, it's not working. We're going to keep Toddy in at half, put Robbo in as left half to steady the ship and kick, let Toddy play, because Toddy needed that. Like we were both eyes up, play what's in front. We just weren't helping each other. And I was old enough at that stage to understand that part of footy, and I knew the combination wasn't working. But then Flano said, what I'm going to do is I'm going to play in the back row. Gowes will start, you'll come on, first change, move him in the middle, and you'll finish the game. And I don't want you to play as a back row. Like at times you're going to need to be a back rower for Robbo and run a line, but I need you out there to play and just play your way. Yeah. And there was, of course, some teething issues around there, but like eventually it got to the stage where, me and Robbo developed a really good combination where I ran a line for him when he needed it, but he trusted me when I wanted early ball, and then it allowed Toddy to do his thing. And
did you have any practice in the preseason, or just put it on you in round 2?
Just put it on me. Put it on me. But it was fine. Like I was always confident I could do it. Like really,
you're a footballer.
Really, it was just one defensive.
I was going to say
place in. I was still defending on the edge. It wasn't much of a difference to me, and I always loved the physicality of the game. I wasn't worried about going in there and making more tackles. I actually enjoyed that bit of freedom where you could come out of the line every now and again if you could read it, or and again I just played like a second 5'8". Really, sometimes I was a back rower, sometimes I was a 5'8". I still kicked, still talked, still competed. So like I just wanted our team to be better, and if that man come off the bench and playing in the back row, I was happy to do that.
How was it defensively? Like, did you notice when you were at halfback, you sort of the game was a bit slower?
It was easier it was easy to defend as back row because you're even making tackles on forwards who are running straight at you, and there's less decision making. Right, it changed a bit later. Yep. JT and the Cowboys worked out. You make the back row ask questions, you can strip the edge. Yeah. But it used to just be ask 3-man the question. So the 3-man had to double D everything, which you still do at a certain degree. But then, as the game evolved, 4-men started getting asked a lot more questions. But at the start, it was just either tackle the guy that's running straight at you or tie in harder and help cover your halves inside. So the defensive transition was easier. The offense was the balance, finding that balance, because I always wanted the ball. I always wanted to play.
I played with you, mate.
Yeah, so
feel sorry for hookers.
So getting that balance right when it's like, no, mate. Sometimes you just need to run a line or push up on the forward. Yep. Don't pull out, because sometimes as a half you pull out and have a rest. It's like no, not a rest, but you view the game. This one was a difference, and finding that balance took a while, but and I struggled with that throughout my whole career, finding that balance, like. Being a back rower, but wanting to play. Being a back rower, but wanting to play. It was something I not struggled with, but it was something I fought through my whole career.
And I was speaking like even Mitchell Moses, he used to say he used to hate defending you because he didn't know if you're going to run a tough line, you're going to pass, or use that bloody left foot. He hated it because he didn't know how to defend you.
Well, we'd have our plan a lot of the time, but then we'd go out there and whatever the defense would give us, we'd take that. So if they were hanging off me, we'd just run as a back. I'd run as a back rower. If they wanted to rush up and that, just give me early ball and I'd use Ricky and Fecky. Like, we used to sort of just wait.
That's what I loved about playing with you. It was like you'd have a plan going into a game, but you were like a coach. You could read the defence, what they were doing on the run.
We'd make the adjustments depending. Like,
Not many guys can do that, mate.
I used to love playing para because Fergo was on the wing.
So, he doesn't know what he's doing.
He'd be set back. I go, sweet, stay back, mate. We'll run it. And then he'd come up and then defend on the end of the line. So I sweet, mate. I'll just kick him behind it. He used to get him all the time.
Wasn't that your first game back from your ACL?
That was one.
I never forget that. You just put on like 30 down that edge.
Yeah, it was
like you never missed a beat.
It was good. Like the ACL was actually, you never say it's a good thing, but it gave me. I'd never had a break from footy since I just said since I was a 14-year-old. That was actually an enforced layoff away from the game. There's no shortcuts with an ACL. You can't rush back. We used to be able to 6 months, but then there was enough knowledge around those extra months from 6 to 9. Just give the graft, but just gives the graft more time to take into your body and. Yeah, it was just it was like an enforced layoff.
I was going to say, do you reckon you needed that layoff?
Well, I don't know if I needed it because I wouldn't say I was playing Origin and that. And
the only thing was like more for the headspace. You played that much footy since you were 17.
That's what it was. That's what it was good for because I don't know if I needed it, but maybe I did need it because when I was enforced to get away from the game, and we spoke about at that stage, I'd met my missus, so we went to Canada, which is. Like this world's away when we go there, like particularly in Montreal, French Canada.
It's cold, isn't it?
It's cold in rugby league. They never heard of it. So if ever I thought I was getting a bit too big for my boots, mate, I just go over there when no one knows you, no one cares about our sport. It's a good reality check to have. And just that time away. When I came back, I was hungry. I was keen.
Yep.
And then we weren't. I think we weren't battling then, but we were sort of
just on that verge.
We were on the verge, and I just knew I was hungry to get out there because I knew I could help the team and. We went on.
I think it was a good boost for the side because we just lost Flano as coach that start of the year. Gow was sort of in and out. I think like he was a little bit busted as well. And to get your leadership back, it was a huge boost for us. So
it was good. Well, like it's probably the best footy I've played. Like the 2 years post ACL.
Man, you were flying.
I was just confident. I was at in that real happy period in your career. I'd won a comp already. I was confident in my abilities.
You're playing footy for the enjoyment, why you're playing.
And I honestly believe we could win every game.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't worried about teams or anything. I mean, if we get out there and play our footy, like we can win against anyone. So it was just, what I was like 27, 28. Like it's a good period as a player, like in your career. And it was fun. It was fun. Like I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the competition. I enjoyed getting out there and mixing it up. With some of the best, like I love playing Sammy Burgess, love playing the big guys, the big dogs, because it'd be a good contest and you get to test yourself against the best.
I think the bigger the game, the better you played, mate. And then so obviously you're one that likes to you play that fine tight line, like you're always crossing whether you fly out. You get named in the Origin side, but I think it was game 2, wasn't it?
It's game 2, yeah.
And then the game leading into it. You take Thurston's head off.
Yeah, that was a dumb move by me. But I didn't know I was in a team then, right? So
the team hadn't been announced yet.
Yeah, because that was when we played a Monday night. We at least announced it at halftime.
Shocking.
And I'm doing my best here thinking, mate, if I can get in the JT here, like, surely Loz is going to look at this and go, there's a chance in a week's time I can go again. And I come out and he's good out the back of shape. He sort of just slipped and I kept going on with it. But you're right, I did play on the line. I always wanted to play... I always wanted to help my team, whether it didn't matter whether we had the ball or we didn't have the ball.
No,
like
definitely.
Make play, like be a playmaker on both sides.
Yep.
So if there was an opportunity to come out and try and put a big hit on, or to force an error, or to even switch momentum back your way with dominant defense, like I love that part as well. To be able to try and affect the game, not just with the ball but without the ball.
Yeah. And the other thing was so when you did come in to Origin camp, you hadn't known yet if you're going to get.
Yeah, so the charge came out.
It came out, but you were in camp with us the first couple of days.
Yeah, so the charge came out, and then we sat there, and they said, let's fight it. Like we're going to have to throw the stumps. Have to fight it because if you get off, you play.
Yep.
If you don't get off, you serve.
One game,
you serve the Origin game as the suspension.
That's
so
right.
then I'm straight back into club footy the next week anyway. And it was only 1 week. It was actually because of that rule that that decision that they started the fines
system.
Because they said they don't want players. They don't want players missing big games for grade 1 because it was a grade 1 careless.
It was nothing.
So
did you have a couple of previous priors?
I think I had maybe another careless high tackle, which would be your second fine in today's system.
Yeah,
and it it was emotional. Like, it was massively like emotional because you just hit the high of playing Origin and then it gets taken away. But I was fortunate enough. We lost that game. And then Loz gave me a shot in game 3.
Game 3,
I think it was a dead
that was
rubber.
Gow's last game.
And that was when you did the...
Yeah, Mr. Thing. That was a mad game to be
It was
part
a good
of, yeah.
game. So it was Gow's last... There's a bit of irony there that my first game was Gow's last game, seeing how close we were throughout our career. So I was glad I got to play Origin with the big boy, and we did win that game, that Michael Jennings try late, and you became a viral sensation.
It
when
wasn't just me. Jimmy Maloney's trying to fight someone. Clem's trying to fight someone.
That's all right. Corey Parker was chasing Jimmy around.
Mate. Everything could happen that game.
That's right.
Was Origin everything you thought it would be when you finally got to make that?
Yeah, it was fun, Origin. And like in Australia too, it's good because it's really like an individual thing. Like, it's so good for you because you know you're representing yourself and your family at an individual level. With club stuff, all about the team. And then that's there. But it's really nice, really, in those moments to go, this is something for me, and it's a tick for sure. And to see how proud your family are, to see how proud your friends are, you get to go out and represent your state, represent your country. It's a really nice achievement. It was everything I thought it would be. Like, it's the hardest game ever to play. Like, it's brutal.
But for losing the series and winning that game, it felt like we nearly won the series.
Yeah, well, it was after so much dominance, right? That was in the middle of it, and I'd watched as a New South Wales fan for ages. Couldn't quite crack the team.
But you were part of our squad in 14.
I was 18th man. I remember
that.
I was always in and around the squad. So Hoffy, Bo Scott, Luke Lewis, Chock Watmow. They were sort of the guys in front of me.
They were there for ages.
And they were there for that whole run. And I was always on the borderline, but I just couldn't sort of crack an opportunity. And then eventually I got my well, it's funny because just as I was sort of along that edge of coming in, along comes Boyd Cordner, who becomes the New South Wales captain.
Comes out of nowhere,
I genuinely am.
And he's a left edge back row too, wouldn't he?
One of my proudest things is I actually got to play rep footy at all, particularly because Bordeaux's left edge for his Origin and his country and the captain.
Yep.
Like that goes in my mind. I'd just say there was a period in my career where I was playing that good of footy that they made a spot for me on the bench because my regular spot was taken by the captain. So
it's hard to push him out.
And it's funny, because Bordeaux's one of my best mates, right, within the game, and I loved him having the success that he had, and I was so happy that I was able to force my way into the team another way just so we could play together, and one of us didn't miss out. That's more a me thing that I was happy with in my career, like a proud thing that happened, that I got to play any rep footy with all, because Bordeaux's one of the best to ever do it in that position.
Oh, a great leader too, and it's probably why he got his career cut short in the end, because he was too tough for his own good. So then we spoke before about ACL. So you said it was some of the best footy you ever played afterwards. Those 2 games, you go straight into Origin. Like, were you pinching yourself? Was that one of your goals when you came back?
Oh, it wasn't my goal. No, my goal was just to play, get back.
Wow.
But so we played that. I played that. So it was always the plan to play just that 25 minutes that first game. And Freddie was at the game.
Was that Para or Canberra?
That was Para. That was Para. So Freddie was at the game. And then he rang me. And he goes, how you feeling? I said, oh, mate, I felt good out there. But to be honest, we had all the ball when I was out there. I did no tackles. Could have went a different way if the game wasn't going on. Like, if we didn't have that momentum, I haven't really been tested. And then I said to him, we were going down to Canberra to play Canberra down there, and they were going really good. Johnny Bateman was the right edge back.
That was a good battle, that one.
And I said to Freddie, I said, give me a week, like, I'll know more after this game. And I was only meant to play 40 that game, but then someone got injured. I actually came on. I ended up.
When Capewell went down.
Maybe Capey went off. I ended up playing like 70-odd minutes. And me and Johnny had a real good. We had a real good scrap that game, and then I came off. My face was busted up. And Freddie come over. He was on the game again. He goes, "You ready?" I said, "Yeah, I'm good to go, mate. If you need me." So then he gave me a call the next week.
How good's that?
Yeah.
Was that like just?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy. Like, it was almost less than 80 minutes of footy I'd played.
Was that the game in Perth?
Yeah, in Perth. I came off the bench. So I was just happy that he backed me, and then happy that the game went our way, right? Because Nath went down at half time with his Cindy, and I ended up playing in the halves for the rest.
You played 5'8", didn't you?
I played 5'8". Jimmy was half. So played that whole second half. So Boydie actually got a head knock. I went on, played the 10 or whatever, 10 or whatever minutes it was, came off, and then Nath was struggling. He did his cinders, and he pushed through at half time. And I was on the bench ready to go, and there was like a minute or two to half time. They said, push it out. He came off. He said, it's no good. And then they said, oh, well, that's what I was in the team for, right?
Yep.
I was in the team
Utility
for
value,
to play a forward role,
Yep.
either edge or middle when the change. But if something happened, I was the cover. So that's what we planned for. And it was a good night that night over in Perth.
Oh, you flogged him in the end, didn't you? Was that when Tommy Turbo got like a hat
He
trick?
got a hat trick, yeah. Tommy just unbelievable. Teddy was top of his game.
Flying.
Jimmy Maloney was being Jimmy. Foxy scored a couple of tries.
That was a
It
good
was a
one.
pretty cool team.
And then, so obviously you get the game 3.
Yeah.
So you hadn't won a series yet, have you?
I hadn't won a series.
You hadn't won a
no.
series yet. So that was back at.
So that was back at A and Z, and that's
this is Freddie's first year coaching.
second year.
second year coaching, yeah,
So
so-
the first year was when I'd actually done my ACL.
Yeah, that's right. You missed
So
it.
I
Yeah.
missed it, and then actually I think I had my hemi. I
The
did my
Hemi. Yeah, no,
and
you
then
did your Hemi
I
because
did the ACL at the back end of
was
the
your eye.
No, it wasn't my eye. That was
No.
another year.
Sorry, mate.
This-
You've had a
this is their
couple.
career.
You've had a couple injuries. Sorry, I've played with you too long.
The eye's a funny story. We should tell that one. But yeah, I don't know. I missed the season. I think it was my hemi the year
Yep.
before, and then I did my ACL in the back end of the year. So I sort of had a line through 2 Origin series,
Mhm.
and then Freddie won the first year.
Yep.
But yeah, that was his second year, and we came back at Homebush, and that was the game Teddy scored on the bell over the Piercy. Piercy got his shot because Nace was hurt.
Injured, yeah.
And it was nice to see Piercy be a part of a win because he copped a lot of the heat. He was really on a hiding to nothing against that Queensland team, and a lot of it went onto his shoulders, which was unfair. So yeah, he was a part of that game. It was when Fergo made the break down the wing, and Teddy scored with 10 seconds to go to win the series. So
I remember being home on the couch just watching it like that. It's just, what was it like out there?
it was
Like,
silky. It was good, mate. It was a good feeling. Because we were actually dominating that game as well.
but they come home hard.
Yeah, that's what I mean. We were dominating that
Yeah.
game. And off the back of game 2 where we dominated, we were sort of cruising. But then as Queensland do, they come back and they evened up the scores.
Yep.
And yeah, we not did Queensland on Queensland, but got on the bell, scored down there, Teddy. That was his second series in a row that we'd won.
Yep.
So yeah, that was a good feeling. It was a good part of my career. That it was obviously off the back of the grand final, and
Yep.
played for Australia. Then played New South Wales, won a series. So things were starting to get ticked off.
How was the difference in celebration from 14 when you're 18th man to actually being in the side and being part of the...
Oh, not too much difference for me. It's probably,
if anyone knows, Wado.
you know what I'm like. I enjoyed it being even when I was 18th man.
Yeah.
But
No
it was
broken
good.
tables.
It was good, no broken table. Man, that table was the hardest table in the history of the world, mate.
Mate.
Greg Bird, Chock Watmow, Gowser,
Gow,
myself,
Connie, the
Connie
security
couldn't
guard.
break it. No one could break it. But no, it was good. Like we just sat back at the hotel. Like again, at that stage, it was different. I'd had my missus.
Yep.
I think I might have had my first boy then too. So
Oh, it's unreal.
family was around. It was good.
All right, so we spoke about Origin. Talk to us. Let's go through the 2016.
Yeah.
So, how many games did you win in a row?
15, I think, or maybe 15
And a draw.
and a draw the 16th, or 14 and a draw the 15th.
The story I love you telling me is that sometimes you said the field was too wet to go out on.
Yeah.
And what would you?
This is when we actually didn't train sometimes.
Yeah.
There was one day out there, it was like pouring. It wasn't
Yep.
like not a little bit of rain. It was a lot of rain.
Mm.
And I remember looking around. It was well midway through the streak. We hadn't changed our game plan.
Yep.
We went on this incredible run too, where we had the same team on paper for like 22 or 23 rounds, which
That's
is unheard of in
unbelievable.
our
Yeah,
game. So
Crazy.
there was no need to really change anything. We knew what we were doing.
Yep.
And I remember looking out there, and the rain was coming down. You know, you look out the
Yeah.
tunnel at Shark Park.
It's going sideways down Shark Park, mate.
And we're looking, and then I look over at Gowser. Said, nah, not today, eh? And then Gowser goes, he never wants to train anyway.
No, he
And
hates
then
it.
Mickey Ennis, like, come on, man, we know what we're doing. Like, so then it took some convincing, but Flano finally went, yeah, right. I just knocked train on the head, didn't do
Yeah.
captain's run.
How'd you go in that game?
We went out. We didn't play that great actually, but we won on the bell, so we
Yep.
got the job done.
Oh, so you would have been happy.
yeah.
Well, he's never happy, Flano.
No, it was just one of those periods where we were lucky. We're in a really good patch where
Yep.
we knew what we were doing. The team was settled. We knew what we were about. We went out there and did it. But yeah, that's a true story. We actually brushed the captain's run one day.
That's the best. It's unbelievable. But then, so you've won, what was it, 15 in a row, then you have a draw. Then you have 2 losses the back end of the year. Was there any, like, panic stations?
It was funny. From outside looking in, I can understand there might have been panic stations.
Because there's a lot of talk around the wheels might be falling off
there was
here.
a lot of chat about that, like that we'd peaked too early in that. But, like, looking back and sort of because I was in the middle part of my career, right? I was 25,
Yeah.
so I was good. I was good to go all the time. But some of our older guys, more experienced guys, when we won the 15, we were sort of guaranteed top 4. We couldn't drop out of it. And 6 weeks ago, you could tell, not that they put the handbrake on, but that we're just sort of treading water because
Get himself right.
we just needed to get to September. We didn't need to get any injuries. We didn't need to be any better. Like we just knew we needed to get to September, and we'd done the work and we'd won games, and we backed ourselves once we got there. Yeah. So we're just treading water, right? Like that was the sense to me. Like like particularly the experienced boys, like Louis 300 games, Gowser 300 games, Chris Hyington 300 games, like
Mick close
to 300 games. It's just Jimmy Loney had won grand finals before. We just had to get to September, so. Once we got there, we actually faced a little bit more adversity in that prelim down at Canberra. Canberra beat us at home.
Well, that's an art because you went down there, no Gow.
No Gowser.
And you
so the week before we played Melbourne in the so we played that in the last game, and that was for the minor premiership. And they torched us down there.
Was that the one where Chambers and Gow were going at it?
Yeah. And they torched us down there. But we actually punched holes through a lot of the game, but just our last pass couldn't execute, and we end up just running out of gas. They beat us by maybe 20 points to wrap it up. But we all knew post that game we had a chat. It was like, if we'd love to play them again. Like, and if we play them again, there was no guarantees we were going to win, but we knew we could mix it up with them. If we were better and if we executed more. And then so we roll in, we lose, we go from being first or second to dropping to third. So then we have to travel down to Canberra. For the prelim, who they'd come storming home. They'd really rocketed up late. And there was adversity. Gowser had an old disc issue in his back, so he stiffened up. He couldn't play. And then I got knocked out in like the first 5 minutes, 6 minutes. BJ Lalua was at his best. I came in, he got off like a loose ball off a punt offload, and I came in hard and just clipped his elbow like front on, knocked me straight out. But then we had Capey on the bench, who hadn't played much that year at all. Comes on, plays 75 minutes, kills it. And then Mickey Ennis really took control. Matty Pryor had a almost career game, put the team on his back. Louis was Louis. Mickey Ennis, a Viking clap at the end. They dug deep, and that win there did so much for us because it gave us the week off.
Yes.
So particularly at that stage of the year.
So you're straight into the prelim.
So we're straight into the prelim, week off. So we play. So we have a week off. Gowser gets right, I get right. All the older boys get pretty much a week off and then a full week's training. And then Cowboys play a blockbuster against the Broncos, as they did back then. I think it went to extra time. So we're sitting there watching them bash each other for an extra time. And Cowboys actually smoked us the year before, knock us out in 15, which was where we really started to believe as a team. We had a team. And I swear Luke Lewis was thinking about the Cowboys 12 months after that result. So in that prelim, when that first kick goes up, he smashes Cootie into the in goal for a repeat set. It was like we got shot out of a cannon, and we just played at a different speed to them because of the week off. They just couldn't keep up, and we end up
towed them, didn't you?
We end up doing to them what they did to us the year before, and then they went on to win the comp in that year. So it was a good omen for us at the SFS. And mate, the game against Melbourne, that was so good. I don't know.
Talk to us about the week first.
The week was cool.
Because there's all this stuff about turn your porch light off or
but we
were just buying any of that. Nah.
We were in a good spot, man. Just with the experience in our team, what we'd done in the year before, coming up against Melbourne, we'd had a good track record against Melbourne. They beat us, we'd beat them. We were really familiar with their team. It was a cool week to be a part of. It's like to be in the grand final, well, back then 14 other teams are finished. They're out there doing whatever they want, but there's only 2 teams left. Like, you're the only one training. Like,
we're jealous watching
you. It's such a privilege to still be there at that time, going to work, going to train and prepping for the biggest game of the year. And had some things. I remember a bus ride we had after the footy show. So you had to go on the footy show back then, and we had a bus ride. And Jason Bakuya, like one of the greatest blokes you ever meet, just great for the change room, just started up this like rhyming game, and it was like we were like little kids, man, just laughing, making up silly rhymes, and that just put us all at ease. It just felt like another week, and we were all ready to go come game day. Like I was confident. I didn't get nervous at all, really. We just knew we were ready to go. Like we're just in a good spot as a team.
Yeah, and it's one of the best games I've ever seen. Like,
Well, those two grand finals, like the 15 grand final, the Michael Morgan pass,
yeah,
and then our one where we have to scramble, literally go down to not just the last minute, the last seconds.
but even that game, like for Melbourne to be close to you guys, that was like if any team goes to play a near perfect performance, I thought you guys were outstanding.
We were perfect in that first half.
Yeah.
We were perfect in the first half, and we were only up by 12 points, I think.
That's it,
Like, It was
yeah.
unbelievable the effort that Melbourne did just to hang in there and stay with us because, again, we were punching. We had a lot of the ball. We completed high. We found a couple of early tries. Louis made a break. Jimmy made a couple of breaks down that right-hand edge, and they were just hanging on, scrambling. So for them to get the half-time, not just sorry, it was only 6-0.
6-0, yeah, because
six-
they
or
pulled,
8-0. No,
they
it was
pulled
8-0.
down Louis.
It was 8-0.
Yeah,
It was 8-0.
he hit the penalty goal first.
Yeah, kicked the penalty goal, and then Benny scored. So for us to only have one try on the board and them to absorb all that pressure,
That's like a win for them.
yeah, that was a massive win for them. And then they come out after half time and actually go almost bang, bang to hit the lead to go 12-8. And then that was sort of the only time where I was like, fuck, we're not in trouble, but
That's what I was going to say. When Chambers scores, how do you feel?
well, it was funny. Jimmy Maloney was really good here because he's, like at that stage we were scrambling. Like, we had all the ball, we were dominating possession, and they just sort of come out after half time and got the hop on us, and now they're in the lead.
Yeah.
And it's easy for that time for people to lose focus and look out into the crowd and get distracted when all you need someone there to center the team and pull them back in. And Jimmy was brilliant. Obviously, big game experience. He got everyone in there. Just refocused. Said, like, we knew we were going to be in for a game. We're playing the Melbourne Storm, like Melbourne Storm in a grand final. Like, we were kidding ourselves if we didn't think we were going to go through some adversity or not be in a position we wanted to be in the game. And it was great for us. He centered us, and then we kick off. We do a good defensive set, force an error, and almost like instantly the big boy scores that special try under the post to put us back.
Only he could score that.
Only he could score that.
That's Andrew Fafita at home.
Yeah, so that's going to be the most iconic try in the Sharks' history forever, right? Because it puts us in front. We got to defend our way home in a dogfight, but only he can score that try.
Yeah.
He reaches, they wrap him up. He twists and turns, somehow puts the ball down.
How long to go was there after that?
I feel like there was maybe still 15 minutes. Like, there was plenty of time to go.
Did that feel like the longest 15 minutes of your life?
The whole game was hard. Like, one of those games, like you get tired every game, right?
Yeah.
And then you find your sort of second win. There was no second win in that game. It was just on. Like, Cameron Smith made 72.
That was the record that game,
74 tackles. Like,
and still had.
And still was carving us, kicking us into corners, strangling us to death. Like, they played so well. Like, we were almost perfect, and they still almost beat us. Like, I haven't watched the game back, to be honest.
Really?
Not. I've seen bits and pieces of it, of course, but not the whole game. But I just remember being tired the whole game.
And what about that last? Was it last two plays or last play?
Yeah, it was good. But our scramble was good that year. Like, we always are working hard from the inside. I did have a moment of panic because when the ball went sort of to the right or our right, I sort of got dragged into the middle of the post. And then when Smitty had the ball, I went to shut it down, and he got it away. I took him to the ground, but I lost sight, and it went left where I'm supposed to be. So I thought there might have been a hole there, but by the time I looked up, a couple of boys had covered.
I think he went long. If he had went through the hands,
maybe.
Yeah, I think that he brought it up somewhere else. Yeah.
So maybe, but then just by the time I'd looked up, Ricky had wrapped up either Will or Korobidi or Vunivalu maybe.
Vunivalu, yeah.
And the siren went, and it's just
relief.
Job done. Relief. Excitement, like pride. You just knew how much it meant to everyone back in Cronulla. Special moment.
And you're a man that likes to celebrate. How was the celebrations after?
It was wild.
Did you go for a while?
It was 100%. Me and my wife had just she was my girlfriend there. We'd just met. So she didn't know.
She didn't know what rugby league celebration was.
She didn't know what the juggernaut of rugby league was.
Especially Mad Monday.
Yeah, so it was Sunday, and we didn't come home. We stayed at the stadium.
Yep.
And the Leagues Club was still open back then.
Cronulla Stadium.
Yeah, we stayed at the stadium, but the Leagues Club was open. So, and to put things in perspective, grand final doesn't kick off till 8. So it doesn't finish until after 10.
You just wouldn't have got back there.
By the time you have a shower, you get photos of all your loved ones, you're on the bus. It was close to midnight. back to the stadium. There's all the fans there, so we do a celebration with them and
Yeah.
a couple of speeches. So it's 1:30, 2 a.m. before we even just get time to the boys. Then we open up the change room and the bar there.
Yep.
And there's drinks. And then when the league club opened in the morning, we move across to there. And then Northies, Cole Sandland has put out a thing that if Sharks win, he's going to put 10 grand on the bar at Northies.
Oh,
so then
and he did?
He did, and then Northies actually matched it, so they gave 20 grand out. And it wasn't for us; we had wristbands and we looked
just
after.
for everyone.
But they gave it for all the
unreal.
punters. So everyone got a drink or two each. Jimmy Maloney got us all crowd surfing on the Monday night, and then I went home late that Monday, and then was at Moran the pub with Josiah Fecky and Jason McHugh at like 8:30 the next day on the Wednesday, and then on the Tuesday, and then
the memories.
and then Boogs wasn't drinking then. He went the whole celebration without drinking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, he just made a decision that he wasn't going to drink, and then he ended up driving the minibus, so we ended up at the Orient in the Rocks.
Oh, yes.
And there was a live band there. We ended up taking over the band with the guys, and we sung karaoke all night. It was good.
That's what premiers can do, mate. What's that I was saying?
Well, that was only Tuesday, and then Wednesday happened Thursday.
When was your presentation night?
Thursday night. Wednesday was Thursday night. Wednesday we had a thing at Sting Bar. This is when my missus really started to
pull back. Hey, where you going, mate?
But she missed all the early stuff, right? We got together at the end of 2015. So she missed all the grind, the hard work. She just came in, got to see Origin, got to see Australia.
She come for the good stuff, mate.
She just thought it was the easiest thing in the world.
Mate, it is a lot completely opposite to that.
Yeah.
It is a roller coaster.
Yeah, she just came through at the right time.
And then obviously, with all the success, you had like the blokes like Gow, Louis, Mickey Ennis, Matty Pryor. So you come up to like your last couple of years. You're probably and probably fifth, Big Fafita. You're used to the only stalwarts left. Was that hard going into trying to bring the new generation of players up and show them the way that Sharks play?
Yeah, it was hard. In a sense, it was hard. In a sense, it was easy.
Yep.
Because sort of as I got a bit older, it always became less and less about me and more about everyone else and about the team. And I knew my time was coming to an end. I knew for us to be successful and for the club to be successful, we needed other guys to start taking ownership of the team. Because when Gowser was there and finishing up, Gowser was still our captain, but it was really us younger guys that took a hold of the team. Gowser was our figure and our leader, but it was really us driving the way that we played and that next crew sort of coming through. But then... yeah, so towards the back end, it was sort of just waiting for those guys to come through and to become first graders and really, because they got to drive the way you play. And it happened at a hard time too, like obviously through COVID. The game shut down. I took on a lot of and Flano got moved on. So a rookie coach struggling. I took on a lot of that burden on myself because I didn't want it to affect anyone else. I didn't, it was more important to me that everyone. Just could come in and play their footy, and because the young guys don't need that stuff. They don't need to be worrying about the club. They don't need to be worrying about the footy program, the sponsors, the things like that. They need to be worrying about themselves and being able to have their best preparation to go out there and be there, give themselves the best opportunity to play well. And there was a bit of a vacuum there for a while, but we had senior players who'd been around the game. Yourself, Fifth, like Chatty Townsend was still there. Shawnee came across, Dukes. So there was experience, but I tried to take a lot of that burden on myself to give the team, the easiest way to just get their prep right and get themselves, particularly the young boys, because we had a heap of coming through like Brails and Ronnie, Jesse Ramian back. Like those boys just needed to come in and play footy. They didn't need to deal with all the other stuff.
I thought that's what, like, a lot of people say, Gow, like, as a leader. I said, what he did a lot of the time was take a lot of hits for us off the field.
Yeah.
Like, that's something that, when I was at other clubs, every player's just getting hammered, whereas at Sharks, it's just Gow that used to just get smashed. And that was something that he did really well as a leader. And then you had to do it once he left because there was no other real...
Yeah, but that's why, like, again, I was always happy to do that because it was more important. Like, the older I got, I could see the end coming, but it became more and more about the other guys.
But you know what? It was also like that. And I used to tell a lot of people, like, because they go, Waito's doing this. I said, yeah, but he's doing that for the RPA as well. How like part of those negotiations. I remember speaking to you and go, how you going, mate? And you're like, mate, I've been on the Zoom for the last 5 hours last night, and I was like, far out. So
again, I was that was a time in the game, it was unprecedented, right? And then the players needed some representation. And again, I'm not the smartest guy in the world, but I can sort of I can navigate my way through those things, and needed the players needed a voice. It wasn't just me; plenty of senior players put their hand up, but I was the guy at the Sharks, and again, I was happy to take that on, because really, and even the last negotiations. I knew the finish was coming, so I really wasn't involved.
Money was nothing for you.
I wasn't going to get any benefit, but that's what I owed the game. That's what I owed, my teammates and the players, because ultimately we're all in the same position and we compete hard against each other. And you're not friends with everyone in opposition teams, but we're ultimately in the same position and want to advance footy. Want to see the game thrive. Want to see players do well. Want to see clubs get stronger. I was happy to take that on.
It was such a...
But it was time-consuming.
Oh, mate, I remember some days you looked like you needed just a good rest.
Well, a couple of beers always helped me just get through the next day.
And then the other one, obviously, near the back end, this is before Fitzy come in, the head knocks, mate. You had a couple. We get relocated up to Brizzy and you just, you do a decision. You finally make a decision for yourself. You're just going to step away for a bit. How big was that when that was a hard decision to make on your career?
Yeah, it was a hard decision because... For me, I always felt good coming out of those concussions straight away. I didn't feel like there was any residual effect. Looking back, I self-diagnosis here, but I never recovered from my first one. So I was sort of caught in a cycle.
Which was that? Was
the one against Parramatta. That was a clean one where I sort of was defended negatively on a short side, and Dylan Brown came in and right foot, and I went down and he crossed over, caught me on the top of my head with his hip, and I was properly concussed there. But we had like a 10-day turnaround, so I tried to come back. I actually got through the next game, but then the next game I got tagged again, and then again I had a break. From that one. I come rushing out of the line like a idiot, missed my timing, shouldn't have really went on with the tackle, but you don't pull out of that stage. Caught some knees again, and that third one worried me the most, because that
was the Penrith one, wasn't it?
That was the Penrith one, because although I came back feeling great straight away, when I watched it back, it didn't even look like I hit that hard, so I actually doubted whether I'd lost my chin or not. In my head, I wonder if I have lost my chin, because they say the more you have,
like a fighter going 1-2 rounds,
you can get like the glass jaw, and you can't take the knocks that you used to. And again, Boydo, a close friend of mine,
I was going to say,
had just retired because of head knocks. Friendy had just retired, and I remember speaking to those guys about some of the stuff that they were feeling. And I felt different. I felt like I'd recovered. I wasn't having any trouble sleeping. I wasn't having any.
Were they struggling? Were they?
Well, Boydo was having trouble sleeping, and with he just wasn't feeling right. Where I actually felt okay.
Yep.
The only doubt in my mind was, had I lost my jaw or not, because I got tagged one too many times. And then I spoke to the neuros, and everyone that I spoke to, I did all the cognitive tests. They were all fine, but one in particular. I sort of understood and it resonated with me. She sort of said, I don't think you've recovered actually from the first one. So at the moment, until you're fully recovered, you're just more susceptible to it because you're in this cycle, right? So you need to break the cycle. And I said, well, how do you break the cycle? Well, no one really knows because everyone's individual.
It's still experimental at the moment,
so,
isn't it?
And it's really individual to the athlete, how they come back from it and what their recovery times. And so the only thing I knew how to break the cycle was just not to play for the season. And the other thing that I knew was off the back of Boydo and Friendy, because the club was really supportive of me all the time, any decision that I made. But if I'd come back and got another one, like a fourth,
you're in some dramas.
The decision would have almost been taken out of all our hands because it just wouldn't have been like duty of care. It wouldn't have been the right decision. And to be honest, there was no guarantee, even if I had that time off, if I came back again and got tagged early, still that decision might have been made and taken out of my hands because, well, even I might have made that decision because I had almost 6 months off plus a preseason training. Yeah. So that's almost 9 months. If you're not going to break the cycle in 9 months, when are you going to break the cycle if I got tagged again? But
you can't have another year off.
Yeah, well, that would have been it for me. So basically, I gave myself the best opportunity to recover, and there was no guarantee that was going to be right. And if I'd come out the next year and it happened again, it might have been a different story. But thankfully, I didn't have any more issues, and I feel fine. And it's just there's an inherent risk with playing our sport. Like
It's just, everyone knows.
our bodies aren't ever going to be the same. Like my finger's gone or shoulder. We talked about my cheekbone before.
You spoke about your cracked
Shoulder, ACLs. Like even now, if I put my kids to bed at night and I'm sitting up there for 15 minutes, I'm walking down the stairs. I've got to go down sideways because my ACL knee, right? So there's an inherent risk, and we've got to understand that. Although it's only just becoming more and more known, and the understanding around your brain and concussions, how to manage it and look after it. That's still the risk that comes with our sport. So, it's just something I'm going to have to deal with in the future if anything comes of it.
It is, and I think a lot of players have to deal with that.
Well,
and you know what the best thing for you was? Like your career wasn't cut short. You look at like the Friendies and the Boydies. Oh, geez, I feel sorry for them because they were both tough players.
But they at the peak of their powers.
Oh,
right?
And they just got pulled back. So poor things. And then when you do come back, it's the Craig Fitzgibbons era.
Yeah.
So how was that? Was it? Did you feel like you were a young kid going to school again?
It was great, mate. Like obviously under Fitzy, just because he has such a different so even when Bomber was coach, like Bomber came through Flano, so it was basically the same philosophy.
Similar, yeah.
Like basically the same training program. Like Matty J was running Andrew Gray's program, so I was really, really familiar. Where when Fitzy came in, it was just new. It was just completely new. It was his philosophy. He started from scratch in the very basics, rebuilt it the way he wanted to, and it was really enjoyable.
Yep.
I was almost a part of Fitzy's staff just as much as I was a player, because I was helping him, a rookie coach, navigate a new club for the first time. Obviously, the playing group for the first time, a couple of new assistants, and I've been lucky enough. I thought we had a really good relationship the first year.
Yep.
I felt like that even grew stronger the second year, which was to be my final year.
Yep.
And now it's great. Like, there's such a cool little crew they got down there now. He's the head coach. Josh Hannay and Daniel Holsworth, DJ, they run the attack.
Yep.
Pricey and Fitzy run the D. And they're just good guys to work with. They challenge each other all the time.
And that's what you want.
They challenge you as a player all the time. And they're just like looking for ways to get better. And they're very driven. And, there's this saying, you want to leave the club in better shape than when you got there.
I think
and when I finished, now that I've finished up, mate, it's in the best shape it's ever been. Not just with the coaching program and the footy program, but even off the field. Dino and Mace on the board doing their thing, making the business better. Just the recent news of acquiring $5 million from the billionaire over in New York. Like, they're kicking goals in the business side of things, and I know Fitzy's setting up a footy program that. Once they get success, once they understand what it looks like, it's going to be sustained success for the club.
Beautiful.
So, if you're a Sharkies fan and
exciting
obviously
times.
a Sharkies man, it's a good time to be a part of us. I know Charlie doubts us, but
Charlie always doubts you. I don't know what his problem is, our producer.
Don't worry, mate.
It's like he wants you to lose.
I'll make a believer out of him yet.
So then, obviously, you said last year was your last year. When did you know that you were ready to retire? What was there anything like in a game or because you hear some guys?
Yeah. So I was sort of tossing it up, and then I'd been working. I've been lucky enough to be working here at Triple M for a while. I've been doing some media stuff on the side, so I knew I sort of had that transitional plan in the back of my head. Like, and it's lucky because I'll still be able to work in the game now with Triple M and with what I do. So I'm not completely detached from the game, but I thought about going another year.
Was that overseas?
No, well, yeah, definitely that was an option. Like, particularly because of we always spoke openly. My wife being French Canadian, they'd love to go live over in France and be immersed in the language, not just for myself but particularly our kids. So that was on the horizon, and then it just got to the stage where I remember we played South last year.
Yep.
And
in Perth.
Yep. It was my 200th game, I think, for the club, 250th game for the club.
Yep.
And it was a tough game. Just made a run-of-the-mill tackle off the kickoff against Big Tommy B. And then I actually got hit by braids from the side and just got a burner. Like, just a regulation burner, man. Like, pins and needles down your fingers. Like, players have had them forever and a day. I've had them forever and a day. But in that moment, I just went, like, I don't need to be doing this no more, man. I got my two kids. Off the field, and they're the most important thing to me now. My two kids and my wife, looking after them, and I remember the appeal to keep going to get the 300 because I finished on 297, right?
Yeah.
So it's so close, And then I just was talking to myself like about not being greedy. Like, don't be greedy. Like,
Yeah.
I remember having a conversation with Luke Lewis, and I was saying, like, how do you feel? I said, I think I'm done. Like, I think I'm going to call it. And he's the guy I've looked up to and spoke to and competed against them with my whole career. And I said, mate, 300 would be nice. And he played 300, and he said, mate, listen, 300 is nice, but if you go back to your 11-year-old self, you say you get to play for your country, play Origin, win a comp, play 297 games, would you sign the contract and take it? I said, mate, without a doubt, I'd do that. 100%. And then that sort of, it made the decision, like, sort of settled it in my mind. Like, and again, I didn't need to push my luck. I didn't need to be greedy. I got my kids there. I love the game. I'm so thankful for what the game's been able to give to me. And, I feel like it was the right time. I'm so happy and content now. I get to drop the boys to school, play golf 3 times a week, come in here, get to talk footy with you. Went to Vegas with the part of the broadcast. Like, it was a good decision. It was a
play
good
golf
decision.
3 times a week.
3 times a week, mate. I need to get down to 3 or 4. I'm at 7 now. I need to get to 3 or 4, and then I'll be happy.
Ah, that's good, mate. And then, obviously, I was lucky enough to call your last game. It was the semi-final against the Chooks. Like, after that game, like, did it hit you then straight away, or was it just...
there was a bit of emotion at the end.
Yep.
I think I was really lucky with how the back end of the year worked out for me. Like, it was almost like the farewell tour of Wade for a while there. Like, there's someone
running joke we had, remember? Yeah.
So I had my 250th in Perth for the club. My missus couldn't bring my kids. There was something going on. They couldn't come over, or the flights maybe. It was just going to be too hard. So the club ended up bringing my mum and dad out. And then we had the celebration, the dinner, which was after that game, after I made a few phone calls. They were celebrating my 250th for the club because I was only the 3rd ever Sharky to do it. So they wanted to put something on for me. And they invited all our team, a lot of my ex-teammates, the older boys, all my family, and then everyone pretty much, and Flano, who influenced my career. And I was like, there was no better way to announce it, because normally you announce it publicly, then you got to do all the phone calls and thanks after. But when I knew they had that dinner on, I was like, couldn't be a better opportunity than to everyone who influenced me and helped me in my career in a room, celebrating my 250th, an opportunity to look them in the eye and thank them for the influence they had on my career. And so actually it was kind of cool. I got to go around to each table, like, Louis and Gow and Boydo were sitting at a table, my mum and dad were sitting at a table, all my current teammates were at a table, Flannel was at a table, like the board was at a table, all the crew at the Sharkies were at a table, so I could just individually go around one by one and thank them personally. And then Dave Riccio, who's always been a help in my career, he was in there, so he reported the story first. I'd got all my thank yous to everyone who I needed to before that, and then I was just able to talk publicly about it. So it was good. It was perfect. And then even my final home game, you remember Kane Tapigi, my best mate since kindergarten?
I played with him.
So his parents are at my game, my last game. They're at my first game, they were at my last home
that's
game.
Unreal.
So just some cool moments that worked out well for me in the back end, and I'm forever grateful for the club for how they treated me and the respect they gave me as I was leaving. And it was emotional at the end of that Roosters game. And again, more so because, not for me, I was just shattered for the team, because we're in a good position in that game to keep advancing.
That's it.
And we sort of just, we bungled it, really.
Yeah.
We let ourselves down there. And again, it wasn't really sadness for me or emotional for me. It was like emotion. I wanted the team to be able to go another week to experience another elimination final. So, but it is what it is. Life goes on, and again, just incredibly grateful for everything I've been able to get from the game.
Like Luke Lewis said, if you had known that at the start of when you were 11 years old, you would have signed up with those things. Mate. And then now, so I want to know one thing with this is you say when you commentated a game when you're playing, do you find it easier now that you're not playing?
Not really. I feel like I've always been able to be okay and be impartial. Like, I called the Sharks for the first
How'd
time.
you?
That was a hard one, because they were playing the Doggies. See, even then we were playing the Doggies, right? And then we're probably a little bit. It's not too bad at the start here, particularly at Triple M. It's a little bit more liberal with some bias, we'll say.
A bit more relaxed here too.
But I find it when I was talking about the Sharks, even now I find it we're doing this and we're doing that. Where I think in time, if I'm not connected with the team as more, I'll be able to talk them as the Sharkies. But you're not going to lose 13 years of...
No way. Not overnight.
And I think my whole life I'll consider myself a Sharkie. So even if I'm talking to punters in the street or footy fans, I'll always be talking as the Sharks is my club, our club. But yeah, in future games, anyone listening, I'll try and sharpen up my bias if I'm calling the Sharks.
You're a funny man. And what's the goals for Wado post footy?
I don't know, to be honest. I think I always thought I'd want to stay in the game, like coaching or being involved in the club, and I'd still have a small role there.
I was just going to say, are you doing anything at the club
Yeah,
post
so
footy?
I'm doing just some work with the leadership group.
Yep.
Working with those guys closely, just about clarity and connection. And then I work with the elite pathways, not as in the juniors, but with their coaches, helping them to understand Fitz's philosophies and his football program. Because ideally, in a world, you go from your senior squad to your junior squads, all running the same program. So when the kids come through, they're just straight into it. They know what they're doing.
Yep.
But me being a part of Fitz's program for 2 years, I can I speak that language and I can help answer some questions and spend a bit more time that he doesn't have to. He can focus on the senior boys. So yeah, I'm doing that, and then just got the year deal here with Triple M. Hopefully, Charlie's got a contract extension out there for me.
I think you'll be right here, mate. As Maroon said, you fit in like furniture.
It's just like right now, I just want to enjoy, particularly my boys at this age, and that was a worry for me about the commitment you need at club level. I know how much commitment it takes to be a coach. Like it takes more commitment than a player because you got to do stuff around the class. Players, we turn up, the video's ready, everything's sorted for you,
Sessions
scheduling,
planned.
everything's planned.
Yeah.
The coach, there's no days off, there's no time off. And right now, particularly with my kids at their age, 5 and 3, I've been selfish enough throughout my career.
Yep.
At times when I've needed to be selfish to take care of my footy and to take care of my occupation. Now it's time for me to be unselfish and be a dad and be there for them. And luckily, the radio stuff and the other opportunities around the game give me that flexibility. And I can drop the boys at school. I can be home most nights for dinner.
So good.
And that's not to say in the future I won't want to enter the club land and that again, the coaching land when the boys
Just not now.
When the boys are maybe 14 and 12, they don't care.
Ken
about
Waito
dad.
sit on the bench and be quiet while his kids play.
They don't want dad to be he's not cool no more. Maybe then I'll look at it, but right now I'm just enjoying the break, enjoying the family time, and just trying to bring that golf in and keep down.
Well, I was going to say, you took that question out of my mouth. I was going to say, what's more important, family time or golf time?
No, I only play golf when the boys are at school. So that's Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays.
Yep.
So we're good. I work here Thursday nights now. Saturday at lunchtime, the boys are only young. They're starting their sports. So I can still watch them early and get in here to work. And then Sunday mornings they play ice hockey. So
nice. That's a different sport.
Well,
Canadian,
Montreal.
That'll be the missus.
That's the only language they speak, mate. It's actually chaos over there. It's hilarious. The kids at that age when they're skating, it's just Stack City. So we picked a couple of real solid sports: rugby league and ice hockey.
Jeez, let's hope they've got a chin like their mother. Okay. Now, one last question. Obviously, you had that peptide saga. I think it was 2014, was it? Yeah. What's doing with the kit when you had your meeting, mate?
Well, I was just a young kid, to be honest.
Do you have any regrets about that?
Yeah, I do. But in my defence, when we got told, like I was going to assist an investigation, I thought it was like a low key thing, like maybe somewhere. Didn't realise the extent of it. Like I should have, like in naivety. But I was 23. We played at the Roosters at Gosford.
Yeah.
So there was a few beers on the bus back, and then we went out to the Triple Threat in Cronulla, which was Norley's Fusion 2230.
Oh, not bad.
So there was a few beers. I actually ended up with Grubby at Grubby's house until like maybe 3 or 4 in the morning. And boys, I got to go. I got an interview in a few hours. So when I woke up, I just threw the kid on. My manager picked me up. It wasn't a great decision, but something I learned from. I copped a lot of heat from it, but it wasn't a great. That whole period for the club and for us as a team, me as an individual, wasn't a great period of my life. It was probably the toughest thing I went through.
Yep.
Not just as a player, but as a person, like people question your integrity and 100%, your character.
Yeah.
And I think anyone that knows me, they know that I'm a bit of a lad. Got more time being chased out of the pub than anything else. So it was just a tough period. It was unfortunate that we went through it as a club. But we weren't the only club that went through it. We weren't the only sport that went through it.
That's exactly right. I thought you handled it well.
Well, we had a couple of strong characters that were able to burden, like to shoulder the burden and to still play footy on the weekend. And that first year, if anything, it galvanised us because it had that like sort of siege mentality. Felt like everyone was out to get us. Then the next year in 14, it fell apart when we lost Flano and had a couple of injuries. It's just too hard to keep it together. But, you know, I've come to accept it a long time ago. It's a part of our story. Like, it's part of my story. You can't get away with it. You know, with every up there is in your life, there's a down. So you just got to, you know, cop it on the chin and get on with things. But, yeah, the good in my life and the good that rugby league gave me far outweighs the bad. So, yeah, I'm forever grateful to the game.
Well, that's it, mate. And that's why the people here at Triple M love you, Wader, because you're a man's man. Mate, thank you so much for joining Woodsy's club tour, mate. Appreciate it, and all the best for the year.
Cheers, Woodsy. Good luck,
Thanks,
mate.
bro.
I can't wait to
it.
see you get Toby Rudolph on.
Oh, yeah.
If
he answers his calls, mate, answer your call,
get his
Toby.
version of events.
I will, don't worry.